class, and welcome to lesson 2. Glad you made it through lesson 1. You're here this week, so hopefully that means we can continue this trend on all semester long. So I hope you liked lesson 1. I'll tell you, that assignment where you had to submit telling me a little bit about yourself and asking me a question, that's a really fun one. And traditionally in the semesters prior to this, we always had like a discussion board, which is kind of like a forum where you post a little bit about yourself, classmates comment on it, I comment on it, which was fun because we got to really know each other as a class. But this assignment has been really fun because I feel like you're getting to maybe know me more because you guys are asking some great questions. So I think I've only got through about half of them so far. So if I haven't answered your question at the time you're watching this, at the time I'm shooting this video, I've only gotten through about half of them. But I promise I will get to all of them and I will answer all the questions that you ask. So with that kind of brings up a topic about the class, grading. So the policy for me is that when you submit an assignment that I need to grade, I need to have it graded within 7 days, so 1 week from when you submitted it. I try hard to be faster than that, but as you all know, life gets busy and things get busy, and there are times that it will take me the full 7 days to be able to get your assignment graded. So if if you submit something and you're like, gosh, I haven't gotten a grade on it yet, think, has it been 7 days since I submitted it? If it's been over 7 days, definitely shoot me an email and say, hey, what's going on? I don't see a grade on mine. But if it's under 7 days, just wait. I will get you a grade. Now, there are some assignments that require feedback maybe a little bit more quickly, and so those ones I do try and put an emphasis on and making sure that I get them done maybe before the 7 days, so that way you can use any feedback I give you on a next assignment. So that's just a policy though going forward, just to make you aware of that. Now, talking about my comments, if you don't know how to find the comment and how I've answered your questions, let me go ahead and jump over to a little screencast here and show you where you can find that comment. The course here on the main page, this is how you will see my feedback throughout the semester and the answer to your question if you haven't already seen it. If you go over here, I think the quickest way to do it is you come over here to grades. And this should load here in just a sec. Okay, so it opens up. Now when it opens up, if I've left a new comment, I think because I've already clicked on this is a test student that I set up just for this kind of little demo. So that way you see what it looks like on your end. There'll be like a blue dot over here saying that, it's something new. That kind of went away. But the other thing that you can see that signifies that there's some sort of feedback or comment left, you'll see this marking over here. See how these are all blank because I haven't left anything on those. So if you click on this assignment, it should open up, and then you'll see a comment from me. Now on this, there was, for the test student, there was nothing submitted, so I just said, you didn't upload anything, please let me know if there was an error. Of course, you guys are all going to submit your stuff every week, so if you didn't submit something, it's probably because there was some sort of error. Now, I'm not going to make that comment every single time. I will make that comment. This happens, we're human. There's sometimes people accidentally upload the wrong file and I'm like, hey, this isn't the right assignment. So anyways, I will leave comments there. Kind of my rule of thumb on comments is even if you get 100%, sometimes I'll just leave you a quick comment like, hey, excellent job, or hey, you did everything you needed to for the rubric. Here's maybe a little bit something you could add for extra. So, even though you got 100%, you can always make it a little bit better. But I definitely will leave you feedback if I ever take points away. So if you ever have an assignment that's graded by me, not something that's auto-graded, graded by me, and it has points taken away, I will make sure that I leave a comment letting you know why you missed some points. So that's how you see your comments. Hopefully that's helpful throughout the semester. All right, so one more thing I do want to talk about before we start talking about lesson 2 specifically, so a little bit more course information, if you would. I try not to overload you with everything the first week, so that way you can kind of get it gradually and as it's applicable to you. But one thing that I do want to talk about that's always kind of a hot topic, and you may have questions later on in the semester still about it, and that is the late penalty that gets applied to assignments. So just so you guys know how the system works, is every assignment has a due date. If you submit prior a due date and a time, okay, and it's usually like 11:59 p.m. on that day. So if you submit prior to that, no points will be deducted, obviously, for it being late because it was on time. If you submit after that timeline, the system will automatically apply a late penalty. Now, it's not just one penalty. If it's, an hour late or if it's 5 days late, it does increment. So in the way it increments is it's 4% per day. And it actually does track like 24 hours. So if you submit at like a half hour late, it's not like, oh, it's the next day, I'm automatically going to take 4% off. It'll actually just take off, enough for that 30 minutes that it was late. It's a pretty smart system. But just to make you aware, it will, for every 24 hours that an assignment is late, it takes another 4% off. So the first 24 hours, 4%. The second 24 hours, another 4%. So for a total of 8%. And what that means is, if you would have originally got 100% on that assignment and you turned it in 24 hours late, now the max score you can possibly get to 96%. So that's how it deducts. So then if you still lose points because you didn't do it correctly or it didn't have all the information it needed to, those are kind of additional points that you'll lose because of that. But you automatically get a little bit deducted just for it being late. So the key really to this, hopefully it's not too confusing, is that you just got to make sure you get your assignments turned in on time. Now it does cap out after 11 days. So the lowest you can get is like a 44%. So if you go past that, so say you submit something 2 weeks late, it's not going to keep going down to zero. Like, you can still get some points. So as the semester goes on, it's definitely always beneficial to turn things in, even if they're late, than just not do them. Because even a 44% is much better than a 0 in the grade book. So keep that in mind as the semester goes on, because I know, as I say, life gets busy, and there's probably going to be a time where maybe you just didn't get something turned in on time. Now, if it's an emergency, like if all of a sudden, something drastic happened in your family, there was a sudden death or injury or something like that, please reach out to me, let me know, and I can always waive that late penalty. So if it's something that really truly is out of your control and or an emergency, for example, I had a student last semester that lived in Africa, and constantly his town had like rolling blackouts for like 3 or 4 days. And so he emailed me and said, let me know, hey, Brother Dixon, this blackout's coming. I'm not going to be able to get my assignments turned in on time. I could then go in, and when he did turn them in, I could go in and remove that late penalty, because obviously he can't control that. So I will be, a little bit lenient on things like that. But if it's, hey, it got turned in late because it was my daughter's ballet recital this weekend, I'm not going to excuse things like that, because it is hard. We do have our family and our school and our work and everything that we're probably balancing right now, but that's kind of just part of it. And so you need to try and schedule around that and get your things turned in on time. But yeah, anyways, enough about late stuff. Let's jump into this week's activities that we will be doing that I want to talk about. So the first application activity that you'll be working on this week is you are going to begin building a resume. I think this is a great assignment, especially to kick off this class. This will be an assignment that you'll work on over the next 2 weeks. So this week, in lesson 2, you'll build probably about 3/4 of your resume. And then in next week, in lesson 3, you'll actually finish the resume. You'll still submit it, so don't think that you're still going to need to submit something by the end of this week, and I'll grade that and you'll get feedback and points on that. But this is one of those assignments I'll try and get it graded quickly, so that way you can change anything before you have to turn it in lesson 3. But it's fun. You'll build it. This is a great exercise to go through, because you'll use a resume for your entire life. So as you're doing it, a couple things I wanted to highlight. First off, when you're building your resume, make sure that you are gearing it towards a specific job that you are applying for. Sometimes people will tend to make resumes and they just want to put everything on there. Hey, I'm so great at this, and I'm great at this, and I'm great at that. Well, if it doesn't really apply to the job, it may not need to be on there, because you don't want it to all of a sudden become this 5-page resume. No one's going to read that. I think the statistic says most people look at a resume for all of like 6 seconds at first, and if they're not impressed with it, it kind of gets tossed to the side. So don't make it super long. We don't want it super long. make sure that your resume is geared towards whatever job you found in lesson 1. And one thought on this I kind of have is, put yourself in the manager's position. Say you were trying to hire someone. Let's say you were trying to hire someone to come clean your home. You were hiring a home cleaner. How nice would that be, right? But say you were hiring someone, right? And people were applying and sending you resumes. Well, if you had a doctor give you their resume and it talked all about how many years of school they went to and how they have this doctorate degree in pediatrics and they've done all this great things as a doctor, would you hire that person? I would think no. If that resume didn't have anything on there about, vacuuming and mopping and sweeping and all that kind of stuff, I'm not going to want to hire that person. So even though they might have a super impressive resume, if it's not applicable to the job that I'm trying to hire for, then that information doesn't need to be on there. So think of that as you're writing your resumes. Think of the job that you found. And on all job postings, usually it gives a description of what the job, what the job qualifications are. It probably has a little bit about the job. So make sure you're gearing your resumes around that. Resumes are not meant to be a static one piece of paper that never changes, right? They're meant to be dynamic, meaning every job you apply for, you may want to tweak your resume a little bit for that job. Even if you haven't changed any experience or whatnot, just so that way it's applicable to what that person's looking for. So make sure you keep that in mind as you do your resume this week. The next part of the week is math. I know, everyone's favorite subject. It's mine. I don't know why people worry about it so much. I love math. But I traditionally was a math teacher, so that might have something to do with it. But this week in math, we're going to be reviewing PC 101. So you're going to do a couple of quizzes. It's going to go through all the stuff for PC 101, see how much you retained. But don't fret the quizzes too much. My suggestion would be to take them early on in the week, because you can actually take them as many times as you want. So when you take them and you get them wrong, it should have like some sort of link to some information about that problem. So if you forgot, how to solve for X or whatever, there'll be a link there that'll take you to some tutorials to kind of help refresh your memory. So definitely I encourage you to take that on, even though it's not due until Saturday. I would encourage you to there's 2 quizzes. I would encourage you to take them earlier on in the week so you can retake them if you need to or if you want to. You can retake them after Saturday as well, and that's just fine. One thing I do want to mention about retaking quizzes throughout the semester is you can actually retake them all until the end of the year. The problem is when you retake it, it's going to apply that late penalty I was talking about earlier. Because when you retook the quiz, it was after the due date, it's going to apply that late penalty. If you are retaking a quiz and it applies a late penalty, please email me and I'll go in and take off the late penalty, because you're not going to get docked a late penalty for retaking a quiz. As long as you have taken it the first time before the due date. If you take it the first time after the due date and then you can take it and you continue to do retakes after the due date, then I'll probably just always leave that initial dock. I'm not going to dock you more. But and the other thing is there's no harm in retaking it, because when you retake it, it'll take the better of the 2 scores. So say you got a 90% the first time and you're like, I want to see if I can get 100%. So you retake it and you somehow mess up and only get an 85 the second time. Well, it's going to keep the 90. It's not going to put the 85. So it doesn't hurt you to retake it. So I would strongly encourage it. So, well, this has gone on longer than I anticipated, but hopefully it wasn't too bad, and I hope you have another great week. If you have any questions, as always, feel free to leave a comment below if it applies to classroom stuff. If it's something personal or something you need to just ask me, feel free to reach out and email me. Have a great week, guys.